in this strange and sacred theater of existence, where every soul is a note in the divine composition, even silence plays its part with purpose. When she turns away, when her gaze no longer lingers, when her words fall still, it may not be rejection, but a sacred invitation. An echo from the universe itself asking, "Do you see your own worth, even when unseen?" The pain you feel is not punishment. It is a teacher cloaked in shadow to someday, guiding you back to the truth that you are not diminished by absence, but refined by it. For what is the rose without thorns, or the moon without night? Her distance, her indifference, they are merely brushstrokes on the vast canvas of your becoming. Life does not punish or reward, it reveals. And in every unveiling, you are brought closer to the infinite. You were never forgotten. You were being carved into something eternal. When she begins to ignore you, when the words stop flowing, and the warmth fades into a subtle coldness, it is easy to believe that something has gone wrong, that you failed somehow, that your worth has quietly diminished. But look closer, feel deeper. What you're calling rejection is actually something far more mysterious. It is not punishment. It is a pause in the music of your life, a sacred silence that carries with it a hidden rhythm, a message cloaked in stillness. Someday, you see, we live in a world that teaches to chase, to grasp, to fill every silence with sound, every space with movement. But the universe has never worked that way. Trees do not beg for sunlight, rivers do not chase the mountain. They simply are, flowing, reaching, becoming. And sometimes, life asks us to stop reaching outward so we might finally listen inward. When she turns away, it may sting. Yes, but that sting is not there to destroy you. It is there to awaken you. To peel away the illusion that love must be reciprocated to be real, that your value is dependent on another's attention. Her silence is not emptiness. It is a vessel, and what you pour into it is entirely up to you. Some will try to fill its silence with anger, with noise, with desperate cries for validation. But what if you didn't? What if, instead, you sat quietly with it, listened to it, felt what it was trying to show you? Because in truth, her indifference is just the shadow cast by something much older, much deeper, hoping to someday. It's the echo of a universe gently nudging you back to the place you abandoned yourself. There is something profoundly beautiful in being ignored. It is the permission to turn inward without apology, to stop asking someone else to witness your light and finally become the witness yourself. And when you do, when you stop begging to be seen, you begin to see. You notice the quiet things again, the sound of your own breath, the way the sky moves, the way your spirit rises, even when no one is looking. You begin to realize that your presence was never meant to be a transaction. It was never meant to be given away in hopes of a return. Your presence is a flame, not meant to be contained, only to be felt. Someday, and if she no longer feels it, that doesn't make it any less real. Often we confuse attention with connection. But true connection doesn't come from holding on tighter. It comes from letting go. Letting go of the need to control how others receive you, hoping to someday. Letting go of the idea that your worth must be echoed in someone else's voice. In that letting go, you do not become less. You become vast. You become spacious like the sky, capable of holding both sunshine and storm without resistance. So when she ignores you, do not collapse inward. Rise gently, quietly, without a need to prove or punish or persuade. She may never understand what she turned away from, but you will, and that knowing is enough, because the soul does not need an audience to be luminous. It only needs to remember. And so, if her silence comes, let it come. Do not resist it. Do not chase it. Sit with it, hoping to someday. Let it carve you open till you find that deeper voice, the one that does not tremble in the absence of applause. Because in the end, it was never about being noticed. It was always about being whole. And wholeness, my friend, needs no witness. So many of us have been conditioned to orbit around others, as if our sense of worth is something waiting to be granted from the outside. We wait for her attention, her affection, her validation, like the moon waits on the sun to shine. But this way of living is deeply untrue to who and what we are. You were never meant to revolve around another's presence. You were always meant to be the center of your own becoming. Not the echo, but the origin. When she ignores you, you might feel like you've been pulled off your axis, like your gravity has weakened, hoping to someday. But this discomfort is not a sign that you are lost. It is an invitation to return, to realign, to come back to that sacred still point within you that has always been untouched by praise or rejection. The truth is, no one can take you away from yourself unless you first forget where you stand. We often confuse love with sacrifice, as if we must lose ourselves to prove we care. But there is nothing noble in becoming invisible, nothing holy in abandoning the very core of your being for someone who cannot see its brilliance. Teaching her the price of ignoring you is not about retaliation. It is not about coldness or withdrawal with intent to wound. It is about grace. It's about reclaiming your energy, not as a weapon, but as a quiet poem that says, I am no longer available where I am not cherished. This doesn't mean you stop loving. It doesn't mean you close your heart. It simply means you stop offering it on altars where no one kneels. You begin to understand that the most powerful form of self-respect is not pride, but presence. A presence so full, so anchored, that it no longer leans in desperation. It simply is. And when your presence becomes that still, hoping that sovereign, it becomes undeniable. People only value what they sense might one day be out of reach. But you don't make yourself scarce to manipulate. You become selective with your energy because your peace is sacred, and not everyone is meant to drink from your well. Especially not those who turn away as if thirst were optional. She may have grown accustomed to your devotion, to the way you always came running, always made space, always stood outside her door with open hands. But when you step back, not in anger, but in understanding, you shift the whole dynamic. You no longer feed the story that your love is something owed. You remind her, and more importantly yourself, that what you give is a gift, and perhaps she will notice. Perhaps the silence you leave behind will echo louder than all the words you once said. Or maybe she won't notice at all. That, too, is okay, because this part of the journey isn't about her anymore. It's about you remembering who you were before the longing, before the proving, before you place the key to your self-worth in someone else's pocket. It's strange, isn't it, hoping to someday, the way everything changes when you stop trying to be chosen, when you stop auditioning for roles in someone else's life and begin to write your own script. Not out of arrogance, but out of reverence, for the soul that came here to shine, not to shrink. And so, if she cannot see you, it's not your job to become louder. It's your task to become truer, quieter, more deeply rooted in yourself, hoping to someday, not the flame flaring for attention, but the fire that burns steadily, with or without a witness, to someday. Because once you stand in your own light, truly centered, the world may tilt, but you never will again. Hoping to someday, you are not someone's afterthought. You are the beginning of your own universe. There is a certain elegance in letting go, hoping to someday a kind of divine poise in not reacting, in choosing stillness over struggle. We are taught to believe that if someone pulls away, we must rush after them. We think silence is a threat, that distance means danger. But life itself, the great unfolding, has never moved that way. The stars don't beg to be noticed, and the ocean never chases the tide. Instead, the universe allows things to fall into place with a wisdom beyond urgency. And so must you. When she withdraws, when her attention fades into the background like a forgotten song, you may feel the pull to do something, anything, to restore the connection. But here is the paradox. The more you force yourself into spaces where you are no longer invited, the more your presence loses its sacred weight. The lesson here is not in effort, but in surrender. Not defeat, but trust. You do not need to perform to be remembered. You only need to be. You see, hoping to someday, there is a kind of power that arises when you no longer feel the need to correct what is already balancing itself. The universe has a rhythm, an order we rarely comprehend while we're caught in the thick of longing. But step back, breathe, and you'll notice what drifts away often does so because something deeper is aligning in its place. Maybe it's not about making her understand what she overlooked, hoping to someday. Maybe it's about allowing life to teach in silence what words never could. You are not responsible for her awakening. You are only responsible for your own. Hoping to someday. The mistake we often make is believing that someone else's failure to recognize us is somehow a failure of our being. But that's simply not true. Her inability to see your worth doesn't diminish it. It only reveals the limits of her vision. So instead of chasing, be still. Withdraw, not in bitterness, but in quiet reverence for your own soul. Let the universe do what it always does. Let rebalance. Let it carry your absence like a message. A presence removed with grace speaks louder than 1,000 explanations. Hoping to someday, it gives the other space to feel, not just the loss of you, but the value that once went unnoticed. And if they are meant to return, they will do so not out of guilt or confusion, hoping to someday, but from a deeper understanding of what they once touched and failed to hold. This isn't about teaching her a lesson in the way we often imagine, through pain or regret. It's subtler than that. It's about allowing natural consequences to emerge. When someone turns their back on warmth, the cold does not yell. It simply exists, and in time its truth is felt, hoping to someday. And if she never realizes it, if your absence becomes just another silence in her life, even that is a kind of answer. Because you cannot wait in the hallway of someone else's indecision forever. At some point, you become the one who walks away, not to escape, but to evolve. It's beautiful, really, how life works. The ones who cling often lose, and the ones who release often receive. The tighter you hold on, the more you warp the connection. But when you allow space, honest, sacred space, either the bond deepens or it dissolves. Either way, you are left with clarity, and clarity is a kind of peace no recognition can give you. So let the tide go out. Let it take what it must. Stand quietly at the shore and trust that whatever belongs to your soil cannot be kept from it. Not through silence, not through absence, not through time. Because what is truly yours does not need to be chased. It will always return with the tide. There comes a moment in the silence, hoping to someday, after all the grasping has settled and the echoes have quieted, when you realize this wound you've been carrying, this ache born from being ignored, is not here to break you. It's here to transform you. You are not meant to stay small just because someone chose not to see you. Pain has a way of chiseling us, sculpting us into something vast, something luminous. If only we let it burn away what was never real to begin with. We are not here to be consumed by the flames of longing, but to become the fire itself. When she ignores you, it might feel like a part of you has vanished, like something essential has been taken. But look closer. Nothing true can be taken from you. What falls away is only what was clinging. What remains, that is your becoming. That is the eternal part of you, untouched and quietly radiant. The world has told you to measure your worth by the response you receive. But your worth is not negotiable, hoping to someday. It doesn't rise when she looks your way or fall when she turns her back. It is carved from something older than memory, something divine. The task now is not to convince her of this truth. The task is to embody it fully and without apology. You teach her the price of ignoring you, not with sharp words or bitter silence, but by stepping so completely into your own light that she can't help but notice the absence of your shadow. You stop trying to be seen and instead become something that cannot be ignored, not because you demand attention, but because you radiate authenticity, presence, depth. To someday, you become the kind of man who no longer needs to prove himself, because being himself is proof enough. Hoping to someday, this is the turning point, where you no longer ask, "Why doesn't she see me?" and begin to ask, "Why did I ever forget to see myself?" That is the alchemy. That is the shift. And it does not happen through rage or revenge. It happens through awakening, through understanding that the fire she could not hold was never meant to be dimmed. It was meant to be carried forward. Sometimes you must become unavailable to those who once had easy access to your light, not to punish them, but to honor the journey that calls you forward. If she cannot meet you in your fullness, then she is not meant to walk beside you. That is not cruelty. That is clarity. There is no need to close your heart, only to raise its standards. Let her feel the absence not as noise, but as truth. Let her wonder, not out of manipulation, but because you become too vast to be forgotten. And if she never wonders, if she never turns to look again, then know that the universe has someone, somewhere, who will feel you completely. Not because you reach for them, hoping to someday, but because you've already reached yourself. This is the paradox. When you stop needing to be seen, you begin to shine, not as a flicker, but as a beacon. Not as a plea, but as a presence. And from that place, you do not attract with desperation, but with depth. You do not convince, you invite. You do not chase, you become. So take the wound not as a mark of defeat, but as a sacred fire. It purify you. Let it guide you deeper into yourself. And as you rise, not in fury, to someday, but in truth, know this: the ones who could not feel you were never meant to keep you. Hoping to someday, you were not made to be understood by all. You were made to become unforgettable to the few who truly see.